Hello, everyone, families, parents, everybody out there. Welcome to my curriculum night video. My name is Miss Horton, and I am very excited to introduce you to my classroom. For those of you that don't know, I am either your child's 7th grade Washington State history teacher, 8th grade U.S. high cap history teacher, or their structured studies teacher. I know it's a mouthful, but I'll get to all of it. So thank you for joining me. First, I'd like to share a little bit about me. I graduated in 2020 with a master in teaching from WSU. Go Cougs! This is absolutely a fight that I have with your students in class, and it is wonderful and quite the bonding experience. I'm a lifelong PNW resident. I was born and raised here, went to school here, and now I teach here. Not Mercer Island, I'm actually from Kent, but lifelong Washington resident. I've been a teacher forever, since the time that I was entertaining younger kids at my brother's soccer games, to being a camp counselor and a ballet instructor in college, and now here as an actual fully licensed teacher, which is truly a wonderful transformation. I also included here my contact information. Really, the best way to get a hold of me is through my email, sydney.horton@mercerislandschools.org. Don't forget the S at the end of schools. That's the thing that trips people up all the time. I'm usually pretty good about responding. I generally respond within 24 hours. I also try my best to get back to your students as quickly as possible on Schoology. Still getting back into the swing of things, though, so if it takes me a little bit longer, I apologize. I'd like to introduce a little bit about my classroom philosophy. So I firmly believe that learning should be fun, engaging, and relevant. I'm very focused on equity in the classroom, as many of the teachers here are. That means meeting your students where they're at and giving the tools to meet expectations rather than changing expectations. I try to practice the democratic classroom, which I will be engaging more fully in this year. That includes students having class jobs, which my 8th grade U.S. history students are familiar with from having me last year. A lot of collaboration. I do a lot of group work, but I also try really hard to balance the group work and the collaborative work with individual work and meet your students' needs, and really developing the class community. I love for my classes to feel really close, feel like a comfortable space for them and a comfort zone. So I really try to build that sense of community. As far as expectations from me, your students can expect that I will always treat them with respect. And if in any way I screw up or feel that I haven't met that, I am always willing to apologize. I will always, always, always give your student the opportunity to fix any problem themselves first. And if they need guidance with that, I'm more than happy to offer that before reaching out to you or to anyone else. And as far as the other expectations go, I have a quote on the following slide. Oh, excuse me, it's a bit further ahead. This year, we will be focusing on developing, specifically for my history students, structured studies, stick around. Specifically for history, we will be working on our historical thinking skills, our executive functioning and organizational skills, our interpersonal skills, and our interpersonal skills. So a lot of those last two has to do with developing that collaborative group environment. As far as historical thinking skills, we will really firmly develop their critical thinking and creative thinking skills, as well as their questioning skills, because those are really the values and the skills that they can take forward into the world, into other disciplines that will truly serve them well. I'm really passionate about improving executive functioning and organizational skills because, to be perfectly honest, I don't have them naturally myself. It's something I've had to work really, really hard to develop over time. So I'm really passionate about helping students with that. Structured studies, this is very specific to that class, but also to my history classes as well. Here's that quote I was looking for earlier. I really resonate with this quote as to why we teach history. Because if you don't know history, then you don't know anything. You are a leaf that doesn't know that it's part of a tree. History is really valuable for understanding why we are the way we are and why we're in the world today. Your students are constantly inundated with information from social media, and it's important that they understand what they're seeing, what they're reading, what they're hearing. So it's really vital to understand the state of the world today and to participate as an active and engaged citizen in democracy. If your students are going to be encountering really high-level discussions online, it's important that they're able to participate in them, or at the very least understand them and make a difference with regards to their own values and opinions. And finally, it provides a greater understanding of the world around them. I feel that one speaks for itself, that in history they will gain a broader understanding of not only how this nation came to be, but how we have impacted the world and in turn been impacted by it. Washington State history, you're up. So in Washington State history, we will be developing all those historical thinking skills that I spoke about earlier. And this is a more specific breakdown of the units themselves. So we are starting with our Washington State Geography unit right now. From then, these are the units we will be moving into. I'm not going to delve too much into them, but you can expect that I will be giving you a very brief breakdown each week of what we've done in class and what you can look forward to for the next week. I try to keep those pretty brief because I know that you already get a million emails from Skyward and you're inundated with information all the time. So I really want to make sure that mine is brief, to the point, and very relevant. U.S. history, here's an overview of what we will be doing this year. So families, we'll be starting with our colonial development unit here this upcoming week. Really, we've been focusing both in U.S. history, Washington State history, and structured studies on community building these first couple weeks. Now that we are moving more firmly into content after our pretest and our community building, we'll be starting with colonial development here, which I'm really excited about. It should be fun. These are the rest of the units that you can look forward to here. Again, not going to delve too far into them, but you can also expect U.S. history parents and family members a recap email at the end of each week, letting you know what we did and what you can look forward to the next week. Finally, I have some resources here for you. Schoology is a great resource. Parents and families, if you would like me to put a parent resource hub on Schoology, I can absolutely do that for you. It's an idea I've been tossing around. If you feel that would be relevant for you, I'm more than happy to do so. In addition, if you find Schoology really confusing to use, I was a tutor within the Mercer Island School District last year, so I understand how confusing it can be from the family and the student side. If you find Schoology really confusing, please reach out to our admin, our counselors, our support team. They will be more than happy to go through Schoology and Skyward with you to help you better understand it. But Schoology is a great place to see what your student has upcoming. They're really well versed in the upcoming section of Schoology for looking for their upcoming work and assignments. That weekly family letter will also be very helpful and a really good brief breakdown. As far as homework goes, I always provide time in class for assignments. In my previous teaching experience, I found that oftentimes homework doesn't get done. That's not always the case, and I've not totally found that to be true here, but I always give them time in class to get their work done. And if that time is misused, then it becomes homework. That puts a little bit more of the ownership on the student and a more clear goal in mind. If they have other things to do after school, if they would like to have that free time for themselves, then it's important that they get done what they need to get done in class. And I'm always more than willing to make adjustments for student needs. Structured studies, you're up. So in structured studies this year, we'll be focusing on a few key things. The first is homework help. I will always provide time in class for students to get help with that homework that they so desperately need to get done and want the time to get done, for sure. We'll also be focusing on those executive functioning skills that I value so much. Time management, planning, and self-advocacy are really going to be the three things that I focus on this year. Some of your students I have for the full year, some of them I only have for a trimester or two. Either way, I'm going to do my best to really delve into these with your student and give them back some ownership of their education. We'll also be working a little bit on soft skills when we have the availability. So things like public speaking, applying for jobs. I'm hoping I'll have them apply to their class jobs, which I think will be a really great exercise for them, and resume building. These are skills I often have students request to learn in school that they haven't already learned and fear that they won't. So I'd like to make some time to touch on those if it's possible. Structured studies, grading is going to look a little bit different for you than it will for history. So for structured studies, this course is a pass-fail course. As long as your student completes the work and we see consistency and growth in their other classes, they will pass. The idea behind structured studies is that it's a support for the other courses. So if we see continued growth and consistency in those courses, then it must mean that it's working. That's the idea that we're operating with here. If you have any further questions, again, please feel free to reach out to me. Never hesitate to reach out. History, we will be participating in our standards-based grading this year. Let me see if I can move this so you can see better. Sorry, I tried to move my little bubble. Looks like I can't get it totally out of the way. Students are assessed using a 4-level system. So that's that 4, 3, 2, 1 grading system that you've hopefully become used to over your last few years here at IMS. The formative practice will be entered as no count. That does not mean that it doesn't have a purpose. So the no count work is designed to provide the support for your student to really succeed in their summative work. I enjoy doing projects and discussions with your students, and that's where we'll be able to really assess the value that the formative work had. And also, not every assignment offers the chance for 4-level work. Some will be 2 or 3 level work. For example, any map work. That's not necessarily that 4 higher level thinking, but it does operate as about a 2 level thinking. Finally, how can you support your student? And this goes for all of my families here. Ask your student each evening what homework was assigned. They should be able to tell you. It should show up on Schoology in their upcoming. And if they're struggling with that, again, feel free to reach out. I really encourage families to help their student learn to use either a paper or electric calendar. Google Calendars is great. Apple Calendars is great. I'm a big fan of a paper one. The one drawback that I see with the Schoology calendar and the Schoology upcoming is that it doesn't show extended assignments. So for example, if a project is assigned Monday and due Friday, it doesn't block out that time in Schoology, which I think would be really valuable for students. So if you can help them use a calendar, I find that really helpful. Finally, please help your student remember to charge their iPad every night. I will have portable chargers in the room that they can take with them to their desk and use to charge their iPad, but it's always more helpful if their iPad is charged nightly. Finally, if you're able to, please watch the news with your student and discuss current events. 8th grade, we watch a lot of CNN 10 current events videos in here, so this is really helpful. And finally, please encourage your student to advocate when they need help. I am always more than willing to help your student. It's never a bad time. It might take me a minute to get back to it if you email me, say, after 8 p.m., but I'm always willing to help and always willing to adjust things for your student. I think that's all the information that I have. Again, if you have any questions for me, please never hesitate to reach out. Once again, my name is Ms. Horton, and I look forward to getting to know families and students better this year. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.